camera effects. This isn't exactly an invisible effect. It's pretty obvious that there's been a lot of work on top of footage. But I threw it in here because I thought it was an interesting side note to talk about, because it does serve a lot of purposes, and it actually helps out quite a bit in filmmaking. Post-productive or post-photography camera effects that mimic another recording device, pretty popular, especially in sci-fi movies, heads-up displays, fake documentaries, and stuff like that. Battle Los Angeles is a 2011 American military science fiction war film directed by Jonathan Liebsman, and it made extensive use of this effect. And when you're looking at effects like this, what we're seeing here is basically interlacing, and interlacing is a technology that we actually don't use anymore with the with HD TVs. It's progressive scan. But whenever you're showing like a closed circuit television or security footage or something that's supposed to be pre-recorded, interlacing is kind of like a movie cliche. And what I'm talking about are these little lines in footage, and that's old technology, but it's still kind of like a cliche convention kind of to use nowadays. Same thing with like how the save icon in software is a floppy disk. Who uses floppy disks? But nobody did. But it just kind of has become the icon of it. But these kind of post effects on films and stuff like that, you never want to bake it into the actual footage when you're actually recording it. Of course, you want to have some creative control over it. But it's also kind of useful for hiding bad visual effects work if there's a lack of quality or something. Night footage, stuff like that, or heads-up display scopes. Somebody, like a sniper, somebody's looking through a camera or a sci-fi gun. You could put some scope technology and some vignetting going on. And that's pretty common too. But one thing it actually does quite a bit of, as well as is give really fast exposition on films, which we'll talk about a little bit later here. More invisible effects examples. Here is a boat from Boardwalk Empire. And perhaps the director says, I decided I don't like red boats. I want a different kind of boat. So invisible effects will certainly take care of stuff like that or change the name of things. Another shot from Boardwalk Empire, taking the boat and kind of giving it a whole different look, as well as, of course, adding like a bit of a skyline back there and stuff like that as well. Just gives it a different kind of a feel. A jumping man jumping across something with cranes and wires and stuff like that. Of course, you're going to get rid of that stuff. This is a famous scene from Game of Thrones, season 1. That's the original actor that played the Mountain. He's really angry at his horse for losing a joust, and so he chops the horse's head off. And obviously, you're not going to hurt a real horse. But here is the actual behind-the-scenes shot. Notice the blade obviously is taken away. That's the most obvious thing. And I don't believe that's not a real horse, obviously, either. It's like a breakaway kind of fake horse with some blood spurts and stuff. But notice the big red dot right where the frame, the blade is broken, and that's used as a tracking marker, so you can get a good idea of where the blade is actually going to be. So it's not only this dot right here, but you actually have a dot on both ends of the hilt as well. If you go back to the hilt's actually completely changed. But the 3 dots, why are they there? Well, if you have 1 dot, you're going to get translation. If you have 2 dots, you're going to get translation plus rotation. 3 dots, you're also going to get perspective. So that's why they put those 3 dots in there to kind of help out with that. And more Game of Thrones, invisible effects. Even if it's a fake prop, rubber, knives, or foam, weapons, you still, if you're getting close to somebody's eye or something, you still want to make sure that you're safe. Here's a shot from Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. Invisible effect. You would think, just add some more blood. But for various reasons, maybe there wasn't enough blood to be utilized on set. Maybe they weren't sure how much blood to actually use. We'll talk about blood here in a second, where too much blood may actually hurt a movie. So if you just add it in post, then you can art direct it later on. And it also saves that, if the actor is going to practice maybe this performance of dying a bunch of times, if there's too much blood around, it's going to affect the wardrobe, and then you're going to require many, many changes of of costume. So perhaps it's easier just to add that in post. And then bullet hits. Another example of, bullet hits in post, just to enhance. Obviously, we talked about how visual effects can enhance special effects. The squibs and, bullet hits that are exploding on set is the special effect. Enhance it with visual effects later on in post, right? And that's from Total Recall. I was mentioning blood earlier, and that could actually change the rating of a movie. MPAA, Motion Picture Association of America, they're the ones responsible for giving the movie the ratings, G, PG, R, whatever. And Visual Effects has enabled filmmakers to actually alter violence and gore to adhere to MPAA guidelines, or has created controversies over changes made, sometimes decades later, after a film has been released. George Lucas and Steven Spielberg are big examples of movie revisionists out there. They go back and they change their movies, sometimes decades after the movie has been released. Here's a shot of a guy here who's obviously had a bad day. And perhaps the MPAA said, with that much blood, it's you're going to get an R rating. And perhaps they wanted a PG-13 or PG rating, so you can actually remove blood. So you can go both ways with this. You can add blood, you can remove blood. When we go talk about revisionism and stuff, E.T. the Extraterrestrial is one of the prime candidates. The 1982 film by Steven Spielberg has a sequence where the kids are trying to run from the FBI. And during the kids' frantic escape from the authorities, the government agents at the roadblock are seen brandishing 12-gauge pump-action shotguns. That's in the original 1982 theatrical release. For the 2002 anniversary edition, 2 close-ups of the shotgun itself were completely deleted as shots. And for the climactic scene of E.T. using his powers to make the kids' bicycles fly over the FBI and the roadblock, the shotguns were digitally replaced with walkie-talkies. Here's the original shot from E.T. These 2 shots were just completely cut out of the film. But more controversial is in sequence effects work like this, where this is the original 1982 cut, and the guys are running around, FBI people running around with 12-gauge shotguns, chasing kids, which some may, today's sensitivities, people say, what the heck are they doing? Brandishing shotguns, aiming guns at little kids who have no weapons and aren't doing a whole heck of a lot to cause society danger and damage. But they're running around with shotguns. Now, at the time when they filmed it, it was just more action, more intense, more drama. But now with today's sensitivities, maybe Spielberg said it's inappropriate. For the Blu-ray release, Steven is he's actually changing it back. So here is the shot with the walkie-talkies that they digitally painted out and put walkie-talkies in their hand as well. For the Blu-ray release, Steven's actually changing it back. He's getting rid of the walkie-talkies that he digitally inserted in the hands, and he's putting the guns back in. Here's another shot where people are holding guns, and then they swap them out for walkie-talkies. And this is what he actually said about this. He said, hey, look, for myself, I tried changing the film once, and I kind of lived to regret it. Not because of fan outrage, he says, but because I disappointed myself. I got overly sensitive to some of the reaction to E.T., and I thought, well, if technology evolved, I might go in and make some changes. And that was okay for a while. But then he says, I realized what I had done was that I kind of robbed people who loved E.T. and their memories of the movie. And if I just put out one cut of it on Blu-ray, would anyone object to that? And he decided that the answer is no. So he says, the movie is what the movie is, so be it. Which is kind of refreshing. And now if we can just get, Han Solo to shoot Greedo first, we're all set. Somebody talk to George about that. If you don't know what I'm talking about, it's a Star Wars reference.